Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'm going to run an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is my guy. He doesn't say how old he is. I'm guessing he's got to be at least in his 30s, if not 40s, over in the UK, and he works in the healthcare industry. And he's writing in to share 3 short stories about experiences he had with the gals over there, 2 of which he dealt with on the job in the healthcare industry. And I'm covering this one because these stories, 2 which are one that's definitely amusing, one that's sad, and one that's no shocker to anybody here, show that the gals are no different on that side of the pond as they are on this side of the pond. Female nature is the same way around the world. And again, it doesn't make a difference what your culture is, your religion, education, all that type of stuff. I've been saying this from the beginning. Human nature, human behavior is the same around the world. It's important to hear these stories here. And what I'm about to go over here is not going to surprise any of you guys at all, but definitely worth your time and a bit amusing. But before I get into it, guys, definitely come check me out, the men's community over on Patreon or Locals. A lot of guys are signing up, and we're having a good time over there. You can come over as a free member and just see what it looks like, check it out, or become a paying supporter and have access to 2 to 3 exclusive videos per week that won't be on YouTube, as well as all my stuff over there commercial-free. It's a great way to talk to me, talk to the other guys in a censorship-free environment. So definitely come check it out. And again, a big shout out to all you guys who have come over there and signed up, and definitely having a good time talking to y'all. Okay, so our guy starts his story saying, "Hello SSM. I'm a long-time subscriber, firmly R-pilled, and while I'm putting together a longer type of story, personal story to share with you, I thought I would send in a collection of 3 short stories that I think you and the community might like. I live and work in the UK, and so I will try to keep anything that could identify me as vague as possible, because, well, I live in the clown world that is, in fact, the UK. Yeah, man, so many things to read about what's been going on over there and going on right now, and it's what a mess. All I will say is that I work in the healthcare industry, which brings me to story number 1, mostly the funny one. On that particular day, we had a young woman in our dedicated mental health assessment room. Me admitted with mental breakdown, feeling like she wanted to end herself, and claiming that her partner was financially abusing her. Okay, here we go. So let's see, again, if things are the same as they are here in this side of the pond as they are in that side of the pond. The police came to investigate her allegations, and soon left basically saying they will write a report, but there's nothing they could do. Well, if that's happening in the UK, then obviously her allegations are probably absurd, and let's just see. She was then seen by the mental health team, and they concluded that she did not need to be admitted. She wasn't really thinking about ending herself. So she was soon after discharged with the community crisis team follow-up for her so-called mental breakdown. Well, the mental breakdown is definitely accurate, but what was behind it? What actually happened? She was dating a man who was making very good money and had his own place. He let her move in with him, paid for everything, and gave her, I hope limited, access to his money so she could buy stuff. Smack! No guy should ever do that. I don't care how much money you have. Well, she had it made, and all she had to do was stay loyal to him. Apparently, that's the one thing she could not do. Shocker. A long story short, she was cheating on him. He found out and promptly kicked her out of his place and cut her off from all his money. In her mind, him cutting her off from his money and for cheating, no less, was financial abuse. You can't make this shit up. They get together. The guy was way too accommodating, way too giving, way too nice. Gave her everything, had access to his money, and the one thing she couldn't do was stay loyal. Booted her out, as he certainly should have. And then she was going to the hospital and claiming financial abuse. Really? They weren't married or anything like that. I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised, given what I read about how things are over there, that she didn't actually get more from that. But, well, that's good. The second story is a much darker one. On that particular day, we had a young woman come in presenting with heavy PV, per vaginum, Latin for, bleeding down there. She had the procedure. She came in with her husband. She didn't tell him. He didn't even know that she was pregnant. The poor chap was worried and distraught and frustrated as he wanted to know what was going on, and nobody would tell him. Yeah, let me guess. Legally, you couldn't tell him. Even though, in case you're wondering, A wife can do this entirely on her own. She does not need her husband's approval or permission. In fact, she doesn't even have to tell him at all, which is exactly what she did. For whatever reason, she did not want to have a baby, so she got rid of it. Maybe she didn't want to have his baby, or maybe it wasn't his baby at all. We don't know. Now, we did tell him what was going on, which he was already pretty much knew that his wife was having heavy PV bleeding, and she was given medication to slow down the bleeding and IV fluids, and she has been referred to gynecology doctors who will take over her care from us. That was what, but he wanted to know why that was happening, and we couldn't tell him as that would be a breach of a patient's confidentiality. Oh, for God's sakes. And yet I'm sure, well, I'm not going to say, but we know about so many double standards and BS that goes on. It wasn't easy for me watching the poor man falling apart with worry for his wife, completely oblivious of the extent of her treachery. At one point, I considered telling him to just Google causes of heavy non-menstrual bleeding. Miscarriage comes up as one of the results, so that might send him down the right track of finding out the truth. Yeah, and that'd be great if you could do that, but if he's highly emotional and reacts, and he says some things and it connects the dots back to you, you can get into serious trouble. It's a tough call. But I didn't trust that in the subsequent argument, he wouldn't say, so-and-so told me to Google it, and that's how I figured it out. And then I would lose my license and my job. That's what I thought. And so we just left it for gynecology to deal with. Now, SSM, I know that in situations like this, you always like to ask, what if the situation was reversed? Yeah, I like to ask that question. We all know what would happen if it was reversed. Well, I saved you the trouble and looked it up. If a man secretly gives a woman a TOP pill, he is committing a severe criminal offense, carrying maximum penalties of up to life imprisonment. In 2 cases mentioned online, one man got a 17-year sentence and another a 10.5-year sentence. And feminists still insist that we live in the patriarchy. So you guys, the same crap. I mean, there are different laws and different levels of their laws, but at the end of the day, the same crap that the gals pull over here in the US of A is happening on the other side of the pond. And I guarantee you, anywhere in the Western world, the same bullshit. The third story was told me by a woman, a colleague's wife who is Croatian. Now, this part is not anything he experienced in the healthcare industry, but just showing you the ugly side of female nature and what he observed, again, on the other side of the pond. SSM, I don't know how much you know about that part of Europe, so I will give you some background as is important for the story. Okay, we get a history lesson here. Up until 1990, Croatia was one of the 6 republics that were all part of Yugoslavia. Each republic is populated by a different nation, and all republics had a constitutional right to self-determination to the point of secession. It was literally guaranteed by the Yugoslavian constitution. Well, in 1990, the 2 most northern republics, Croatia is being one of them, decided they were done with the socialist regime and economy and would like to join the West and try capitalism-based economy for a change. But when they tried to exercise their constitutional right for secession, Serbia didn't like that too much and tried to keep them in Yugoslavia by force, and the war broke out. That brings me to the story. My colleague's wife, let's call her Dara, back then lived in Croatia's capital, which is located to the west of the country. There she met a young woman, let's call her Anna, from one of the towns in the east, close to the border with Serbia. So one of the first that came under the attack. As per usual, women and children were evacuated towards the safer western part of the country, while the men stayed back to fight. Anna's husband stayed behind. Well, the town held up for a few months, but eventually got overrun. Some managed to get out in time. Many did not. Anna's husband was one of those that did not get out. All contact with them was lost, so they were declared missing in action, with many fearing they were killed in action. What a mess. That's the worst thing, not knowing, you know. Dara befriended Anna, so they started having weekly girls' nights with 2 other local women, where they would just gossip and complain about anything and everything. Well, sounds about right. It was supposed to be a group support system during the time of war. However, no matter what kind of problems the other 3 women had going on, it all paled in comparison to Anna's problem. her husband being missing and her not knowing if he was dead or alive. Well, I agree there. So the group support system turned into Anna's support system, with the other 3 women always ending up there, they're Anna, with their problems having to take the back seat. Well, okay. So Anna's obviously in a tough situation. Doesn't say if Anna has any children or not, and you can certainly have a lot of sympathy given that she has no idea what happened to her husband. Well, you can all speculate what Anna might be doing behind the scenes. And again, female nature. The 3 women got annoyed, so they started another weekly session, just the 3 of them, meeting just so they couldn't bitch and moan without being overshadowed by Anna. Dara didn't like Anna being left out, so she started meeting with her so she could and give her some additional support. Again, this description here. Everything's all about Anna. The 3 chicks want to have their opportunity to bitch and complain, not make it all about Anna, so they start their own group. That went on for 5 years when finally the war was drawing to a close, and in one of those meetings, Anna confided in Dara that within months of arriving to the capital, 5 years earlier, she found herself, wait for it, a lover, and was seeing and banging that man the entire time. Needless to say, Dara was shocked. She shared this with the others, and Anna was promptly cut off from the circle by all 3 women. This just goes to show you some women are deceptive and manipulative, not only with men, but with women also. And it also shows their survival instincts are going to jump right in. Now, I mean, she didn't know whether he was dead or alive, but wasted no time in finding a replacement to take care of her. Survival instincts, female nature. Can you imagine if the situation was reversed and a guy was doing that? Oh, he'd be shamed by the gals. But if a gal does it, oh, well, it's okay. And I don't hear anything about any kids like that she had to support. I hope you find these stories worthy of a video. Please keep my details private and continue to do the great work that you do as you've been so far. Well, bro, I appreciate the story. I know it's not very long, but I like to cover these little things here. And yeah, guys, like I said, 2 of the stories in the healthcare industry, one separate, but obviously overseas. Same type of thing that could happen over here. And the point I've been making since day one, guys, is that not just female nature, but human nature is no different around the globe. Your culture, your religion, your education, socioeconomic background, doesn't matter. We all behave the same ways, react the same ways as a whole. I mean, individually we're all different, but as a whole, general things, it's pretty obvious. And that's why it's good to listen to these type of stories, refresh often, keep learning, keep paying attention to these things because it's going to impact you. And again, I don't care where you are in the world, whether you're here in the USA or you're in India, Australia, whatever, it's going to apply to your culture and religion. I've had guys writing in or telling me that it doesn't apply to them, and it's like, okay, ignore these type of things. You know better. And probably 6 months to a year, they're going to be writing in because their life turned to crap because they were too arrogant to listen. But anyhow, bro, good story, and you got your own personal story. Send it. I'd like to hear about it. We'd all like to hear it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.